Hi everyone, I'm Andy Sloss. I'm Health and Safety Advisor for Forestry and Land Scotland. I'm just going to give a quick overview of how we're implementing chainsaw competency management in Forestry and Land Scotland. Just a quick overview of chainsaw management in FLS. This is a structure that we'll be using to determine what chainsaw needs we have, who's going to use chainsaws, and then how we're going to manage the competence going forward. So the typical route of going through deciding who needs to use chainsaws, what needs we have as a business, training, certification, and then onto the green section, which is the cycle of competence management. And the bit that I'm going to focus on in this presentation is this section here. All of our chainsaw operators are craftspeople in FLS, which means their job roles are very varied. They're not always using chainsaws, and at different types of the year, the work will be consolidated into different points. So what we've decided to do is set a standard, a formal standard of a minimum of 3 days chainsaw work each month. Even if that's not for a specific business need, it's purely consolidation, then we'll do that. And we can base it around what they record in the logbooks, which we'll do from that. Where if they identify any weaknesses or things they want to practice on, then we build that consolidation, that minimum 3 days a month around that. To support with that, and I'll get on to technical chainsaw supervisor on a later slide, but they'll be doing monthly observations and providing mentoring opportunities. That role we're kind of looking at being about the level 3. And then from that, we'll build in yearly CPD events as a minimum, and we'll do those within the regions, but also do some nationally as well, where we'll travel around the country and provide input and support as health and safety advisors. We're also intending to do level 4 auditing, that'll be independent, so we'll be bringing that in from external, just to give us an independent perspective to help support that competence management structure. We decided when we wanted to use the logbooks that we had to use the data we generated from those for something. And so we've integrated it into a risk control system, which is currently this at the moment, which consists of a chainsaw safety checklist the manager will do prior to any work starting, but covers the operational aspects of it. And then what the operators and supervisor do on site, which is the risk assessment method statement. I won't go into the detail about risk assessment itself, but the key bit of this is the chainsaw safety checklist, where the manager can decide, do they have the necessary competence to do the work, or do the operators they have in their team need specific consolidation or mentoring or supervision on that site. The logbooks feed into that, where the operators will say things they're confident in doing or not confident in doing or not competent or whatever. And then the manager can either decide they're not going to do that piece of work, or they can design work specifically around it to give them consolidation and some supervision and mentoring around that. So the key thing that links us into that thereafter is the logbook, which we've got our GIS team internally to design into an app. And the reason we did that is that we could use our own spatial data, like things in ArcGIS and mapping, which is quite useful when we want to draw across any hazards and constraints as well. So it's still in development and we're trialling it, but it's been going down quite well. The principle being that we want to focus on using photographs or videos as opposed to using text. So the start of the app tells you what to record, what we're looking for. It asks for site details in terms of location, which is just dropping a point on a map using GPS, what kind of work activity has been done, and then just upload pictures, felling cuts, then cross-cutting, winch takedown, winch setup, you name it, they can put in whatever they like. The final page is where we feel we get quite a lot of value from. So just a description from the operator of what kind of work they've done that day, how many hours they spent in the chainsaw, and we want to be quite clear that it's not really trigger time, or it doesn't need to specifically be trigger time. It could be lots of things like toolbox talks, preparing risk assessments, walking a site, setting up a winch, taking down a winch. It doesn't need to be holding the saw all the time. The middle part there about what practices, techniques, tree sizes do you want more practice on is quite important, because how we want to link that to the planning is we want to find out from operators what do you not feel confident or comfortable with, and we'll create job scenarios for you to give you that practice and provide the mentoring for it. So it gives us more of a structure to use the information we get from the logbooks. The last 2 points about how do you physically feel and mentally feel is a wee bit of work we're working on with chainsaw operator wellbeing framework. And it's just to try and track the human factors element about fatigue and situational and spatial awareness, which we're working on, which we'll share once we've people are a wee bit more developed with it. What we get from that is a dashboard. Again, it's spatial, so it shows us all dots in the maps of where the work's been done, which is useful for managers because they can keep track, and we're looking at how we do a job scheduling system within that as well. We can adapt this how we like, but at the moment it's shown as just the mental wellness and physical wellness, the average number of hours spent on each job, and then the total number of surveys completed. But we'll develop this as we go forward. So what we get is this cycled process where the logbook, as we start to get more information about what people's strengths and weaknesses are, that helps us plan work more effectively using that manager's checklist. So if somebody's lacking in that competence or even the confidence in doing something, we can plan in something that will build that development. We can design CPD events around it. We can provide specific mentoring, or we can decide that job can't be done because we don't have that competence to do it, which is going to help us in the long run as well. And so we have this cycle process, which is really beneficial. So how we want to support that whole process is with what we're calling a technical chainsaw supervisor, which we're trying to implement at the moment. The reason being that our work supervisors typically, because again of their job role being so varied, they're not always on site all the time working with a team or within a team, or in some cases actually have a technical knowledge or past use of using a chainsaw that would help with that. So what we're going to do is lift out our most competent operators from within chainsaw teams and give them the people skills of how to do coaching, feedback, mentoring and whatnot, so that we have that integrated within teams, so that when we look at the planning of work and find that we don't have the competence to do certain tasks or whatever, then we actually have somebody within that team who can provide that mentoring, who can coach people, who can bring their skill levels up. And that we felt was a really critical role to have within our chainsaw teams. Finally, just some lessons we've learned and picked up. Logbooks are not going to replace face-to-face observation, neither they should. It's better to have that oversight, and the best way to gauge competence is to be able to tell what somebody's development's been from point A to point B. The logbooks, we figured, have become quite pointless quickly if the content's not used. There's going to be a lot of data we gather, but how do we plan to use it, which is why we've linked it into a risk control and work planning aspect. Need to think about the content that's in there. What are you going to do with it? If it's all just pictures, what does that tell you? How do you track the consistency and changes? So sometimes a wee bit of text in there just to ask somebody's perspective of how comfortable do you feel doing this? What do you need? Get that feedback direct from the operator. But the main thing for new users is going to be great for tracking development, taking pride in their work. We've got a number of modern apprentices going to be beneficial for that, evidence gathering and whatnot. So we see quite a lot of benefits that we're going to take from this going forward. Anyway, that's how we're doing it in FLS just now, and I think I'll be able to take some questions after this.